Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. We have an amazing show for everybody today. Extra amazing
Awesome
because Ryan is here.
Saagar?
Bro show. People live for the pound. That's what it's all about. Let's go ahead and see what we've got on deck. We're going to start with Hurricane Milton and all of the updates around that. I actually looked at the data. Florida is one of the largest states in terms of audience for our show. So for all of them down there, we are thinking about you, and we're going to try and update you and the entire country about this imminent potential disaster.
Huge portion of our audience may be in the car right now listening to this.
Very possible. We wish you absolutely the best.
Yes.
We're going to try and keep you guys
Please
as
be safe.
up to date as possible. Obviously, a storm that's going to devastate potentially Florida, but also potentially reshape a lot of our national conversation around that. But we're going to start with just the facts, and then perhaps we'll get into some of the analysis. We're also going to talk about Kamala Harris. She appeared on 60 Minutes last night. There is a lot to say about that. I think we'll just leave it at that. There's quite a few clips and other things, her foibles, perhaps her strengths as president. We're going to talk about the polls. We are going to look with Logan Phillips in one of our exclusive segments here. Some of it will be public available today, but a lot of it is going to be behind the paywall up until later. That's for our premium subscribers. That's an incentive for you to go ahead and sign up. We're going to talk about the State Department, where Ryan actually dropped a big story over at Drop Site with his colleagues, and then the State Department was pressed about that. Finally, we are going to talk about Hillary Clinton in a recent interview on censorship. And then we have a great guest, Jefferson Morley, on JFK and some new revelations about Lee Harvey Oswald and some of the other shenanigans that he was potentially up to. I won't tease too much because Jefferson is just such an intelligent guy. He's been following this for almost his entire life. So much scholarship on the JFK assassination. He's got even more new revelations that add to the picture of what happened. So let's go ahead and start with Hurricane Milton. We're going to borrow here from Ryan Hall. Some of you may know him on YouTube. Never met him. We reached out to him, by the way, Ryan, if you're listening. We would love to host you, but he really has some of the best weather analysis out there. And so we thought we would just borrow from him and play some clips so that you guys can see what he is looking at in terms of Hurricane Milton, its acceleration into a Category 5 hurricane. And now I believe it's the 4th or 5th most powerful hurricane in this region of the world ever seen by humanity. So let's go ahead and take a listen to Ryan.
Major Hurricane Milton is a high-end Category 3 hurricane with 125-mile-per-hour winds, and the pressure's down there around 945 millibars. This is astronomically stronger than what it was yesterday, and that intensification is going to continue today. As soon as 2 a.m. early in the morning tomorrow, we could have a high-end Category 4 with 155-mile-per-hour winds right here just to the north of the Yucatan Peninsula near Progreso, Mexico. I really hope that the people down here in Mexico are watching out for this one, because this is taking a really strange approach. I don't know if this area has ever had to deal with a hurricane like this coming in at this angle and at this intensity. This is going to be a pretty bad situation for Mexico, especially if it takes a more southern track here, because it's going to be at its peak intensity right here. The official forecast is of course for 155 mile per hour Category 4 storm. However, I really do believe that this could very well be a Category 5, maybe even by the end of today, not even tomorrow. And then it could be a high-end Category 5 by the time it gets to this area, especially if it continues to strengthen in the unbelievable fashion that it has so far. But from there, it is going to start slowly weakening, okay? We do expect it to be down to 150 miles per hour as it goes a little bit farther to the east. Once it gets between the Yucatan Peninsula and Florida, as it's really starting to approach Florida, it's going to be down to 144 miles per hour. And then we expect it to make landfall, or at least be just off the coast of Florida, as a Category 3 major hurricane on Wednesday, sometime after 2 p.m. and before 8 p.m.
There you go. So 8 p.m., that is really when, Wednesday, overnight up until the morning on Thursday. Unfortunately, by the time we do the show here on Thursday, we're going to have some images for you. We'll know the extent, at least, of some of the limited and early amounts of damage. Let's go ahead and put this next one up on the screen. This is from Noah Bergen. He is a meteorologist down in Florida for Fox Orlando. Here's what he says, quote, "This is nothing short of astronomical. I am at a loss for words to meteorologically describe you. The storm's small eye and intensity, 897 mbp pressure with 180 miles per hour max sustained winds and gusts of 200 miles per hour plus. This is now the 4th strongest hurricane ever recorded by pressure on this side of the world. The eye is tiny at nearly 3.8 miles wide. This hurricane is nearing the mathematical limit of what Earth's atmosphere over the ocean water can produce. So let that one sink in about just how powerful a storm can get. As of 5 a.m. this morning, the update that he's given us is just that that they're continually looking at the storm, that there's been some mild weakening, but that is not going to stop the impact and the potential storm surges. Those surges look devastating, Ryan, and all of this has prompted massive evacuation. We have some pictures that we can show here. Let's go ahead and see some of that video. Yeah, you're looking there. This is evacuation in progress in Sarasota. This is a look at the northbound traffic on I-75 as residents began to make their escapes. There's a lot of reports coming out of Florida about sold-out hotel rooms, about gas lines, about horrible traffic. So really thinking about everybody there. But this is a devastating storm, Ryan, and the storm surges, no joke, some 8 to 10 feet in some areas. As I understand it, one of the things that makes it so unique is it's coming there onto that coast of Florida towards Tampa. Tampa's not had a major hurricane that's hit it in about 100 years. And so a lot of the residents, particularly because
some damage from Helene even.
Right, but there's been a lot of new residents that live in Tampa in particular who are not used to perhaps the hurricane warnings and evacuation and all that. So public officials are sounding the alarm as big as they can. They're like, if you are in an evacuation zone, you need to get the hell out of there as soon as possible. So hoping that our listeners who are in the Tampa area and any others, please heed your local evacuation orders and all this, because this looks bad.
And what's remarkable about the Ryan Hall clips is that, he's expecting it to come in at, 130, 140. Right. It's going to be a serious storm, but it all of a sudden, almost instantly, like people were saying they never seen anything happen that quickly.
The acceleration from storm to Category 5.
Right, they were expecting, okay, this is unfortunate for Mexico and the Yucatan Peninsula, and I hope everybody's safe over there. It'll be down to maybe 130, 140 as it creeps across over closer to Florida. And then Milton had other ideas, and instantly, it's, wow, we're talking 175, 180. Somebody, I saw some meteorologists saying that it was approaching the mathematical possibilities for our atmosphere. Yeah, right, exactly. Right. Which is what a harrowing line. Like, what does that even mean? And what's beyond those possibilities? Like this is it. And I think you're exactly right to highlight the fact that so many millions of people have flooded, no pun intended, Florida over the last couple of years in search of this great weather and this cheaper housing as they've been driven out of other places. To then match that migration with this storm hitting these folks who aren't prepared for it. There's nobody in Florida has a basement. Yeah. And a lot of these houses are slapped together. Like these are
they're very newly constructed.
This is not in Jamaica, British Virgin Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands, like these are cinder block houses, weathered by hundreds of years of hurricanes, where they can hunker down in that bunker. That's not what you have throughout a lot of Florida.
It's really devastating. Let's go to the next one. This kind of underscores what you're talking about. Only 7 hurricanes have gone from Category 1 to Category 5 in 24 hours. Milton is now actually the second fastest to ever do so. Let's go to A5 also, please, up on the screen. This is for anyone who is watching. These are the evacuation areas that you can see from Jacksonville, Fort Myers, Jupiter, Orlando, Tampa. They are also highlighting in green the cities where they are recommending that there will not be power outages. So a personal friend of mine is actually in Miami, lives in the Tampa area, but they are in the northern, above Florida, above the Panhandle. They're recommending people go to Columbia, Charleston, Savannah, Macon, Atlanta, Birmingham, Montgomery, Mobile, Panama City, Jackson, and New Orleans. So yeah, evacuating a hurricane just to have to go to New Orleans, kind of ironic there. Let's go to the next one. This again just highlights the flooding. This is really devastating. I believe that this is from FEMA, and this shows just on the coast of what the expected storm surge will look like. So as I said, the Tampa Bay area is expecting some 8 to 12 feet of storm surge. I mean, it's 8 to 12 feet of water that will come in. And if you've ever been to that city, just how much of it is there on the coast. They're also looking at 5 to 10 feet in other areas, and even a quote unquote small one of 2 to 4 feet in the less affected. But as I understand it, that is double of what Hurricane Helene brought. And already they had a lot of debris that was on the ground from Hurricane Helene, one of the major priorities of Florida authorities over the next 24 hours is actually to pick up as much debris as possible to forestall any flying around debris and projectiles that would break a lot of property in the area. But people there are really bracing, and what we actually want to highlight is an interview that the mayor of Tampa just gave last night, where she said, I can say this without any dramatization whatsoever. If you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you are going to die. Let's take a listen.
What would you say to people tonight who are saying, you know what, I'm going to ride this out, I've ridden others out? What would you say to people who aren't heeding those evacuation orders?
Well, I can tell you right now that they may have done that in others. There's never been one like this. And this, Helene was a wake-up call. This is literally catastrophic. And I can say without any dramatization whatsoever, if you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you're going to die.
You are going to die. So that's obviously pretty intense stuff there coming from the mayor of Tampa, Ryan. And
it's so difficult for everybody to evacuate. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. The problem with this is that people think you can just wave a magic wand and you're like, oh, evacuation is happening. But like I said, especially lower income folks, we saw a lot of this during Katrina. People who don't have a lot of money. Gas, obviously, right now is it's a scarce commodity, as I understand it. Traffic as well was a problem. A lot of these hotel rooms are sold out. Many people are going to have to get on the road for 8 to 10 hours just to be able to make it to a metro area. I know it's heard some stories in my own personal life, multiple flights canceled out of that area. They're gonna have to drive somewhere else just to try and be able to get on a flight so they have somewhere to go. Thousands of dollars out of pocket costs, obviously, that they're incurring. Some people have 4 dogs or whatever. I just saw a story this morning. People who, they don't know what to do. They don't have any money, and they really feel helpless in this. So that is perhaps the most devastating part out of this. People who are elderly, a lot of pensioners, people who live down there on a fixed income. And so having to flex in a disaster time like this is really scary. And you only have 48 hours or 72 hours or whatever to repair. It's just not a lot of time. It's not.
A lot of those people have difficulty driving to the grocery store and back.
There you go. Right.
Driving like 15 hours with no place to go. That's the hard part, especially for people who, can't afford these price gouging that's going on when it comes either to gas or if you can eventually find a place to stay. But I would say if you're in that zone, it is worth it. Like whatever the risks are that you have to take to evacuate, like take those risks rather than thinking, you know what, I can actually probably hunker down and get through this. And psychologically, it's so difficult because your home is your sanctuary. It's a place that feels safe. It's the place where you want to go to when you're in danger. And so to be told, no, actually, you need to get out of there. There's a psychological barrier that you have to climb over. But like that, and the mayor is trying to give you that push over the top. Like if you stay in these flood evacuation zones, a higher zone that is an evacuation zone, you're very likely going to die, but at least you're not going to definitely die because of the flooding. But in the lower zones, it's going to be hell on earth.
I was looking at photos of like Tampa Bay Hospital and others that are right on sea level, right by the ocean with an 8 to 12 feet storm surge. It just looks absolutely devastating.
People in critical care there?
Yeah, that's right. People are in critical care. I mean, look, Florida, obviously, the authorities there, they seem to know what they're doing. They're trying their best with the evacuation order. The government actually seems like it's all in. Ron DeSantis, there was some controversy where he allegedly declined a phone call from Kamala Harris. He's denying that, but he did say, look, the Biden administration is giving me all the resources that I need. And so we'll watch this very closely. October is hurricane season. Obviously, in the U.S., we have a long history of hurricanes. Right before the election, there will be a lot of eyeballs on Florida as they have to rebuild, as we have to look at the disaster, perhaps supplementals. Congress may have to come back into town. But right now in the interim, just for everybody there, like I said, we have a large audience in Florida. Please stay safe. Please heed local evacuation orders, especially with the devastation the projection of what the storm is. Even if the storm does slow down, as I understand it, just making landfall at Category 4 is still not a joke. And with the storm surge alone, that can cause a significant amount of devastation. So really thinking about everybody in Florida. Like I said, for our audience, please heed the advice of your local evacuation authorities and orders. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.